Former Ironwood Ridge standout Chase Laurita has football in his blood, stemming from his father, who played at the University of Oklahoma in the 80s.
He's coached me since I was like 4 years old, and he's always been there and taught me not only fundamentals, but the attitude that it takes to play the game and the work ethic it takes to be successful playing the game.
When I got to the University of Oklahoma, I learned an awful lot, and those were the things, and it wasn't the stuff that you think that you learn. It was more the little things. I learned from a lot of great players that confidence in yourself and your own ability is key. And that started with Chase when he was real young.
You learn it's a lot of hard work, and you got to work real hard or you're not going to be successful.
Stories from Al's Sooner days include ones involving Barry Switzer, Brian Bosworth, and others who have shaped not only his life, but how he's raised his sons.
They weren't selling themselves, they were selling a football program. And a lot of what I've done with Chase is a direct relation to, is looking at Keith Jackson, what Keith Jackson was as a human being and how Keith Jackson was as a teammate. And this past year, going through the season and watching Chase and making sure that he maintained his team aspect, a lot of that was from Keith Jackson.
Al, like many he played with at Oklahoma, put his stamp on college football during his tenure with a national record at the time.
So in about 1983, 1984, I had bench pressed 505 pounds, and at the time that was unheard of.
He's always actually focused on, it's not the strength you can, what numbers you can put up in the weight room, that it's how you play on the field. And there are a lot of guys that are not as good in the weight room that can play a lot better on the field.
Even though I held the bench pressing record and I was squatting huge amounts of weight, I was beat out by a guy named Mark Hudson, and Mark Hudson was just an incredible athlete. Mark Hudson wasn't a huge weight room guy. He was a phenomenal athlete who could just play the game, and it was his athleticism. So as we were growing up and developing Chase, and my youngest son Deacon, we really focused on athleticism and speed, and that athleticism carried through.
The story of Al's weight room records actually plays a part in Chase's recruitment to NAU.
I had actually forgotten about it, but during the recruiting process, and as I got to know Coach Tim Davis at NAU when he was recruiting Chase, Coach Tim Davis brought up the fact that I had held the bench pressing record for a while, and I asked him, how'd you know that? And Coach Davis's response was, well, I did my research.
He's newer at NAU as the offensive line coach, but talking to him, he talks about making me better as a player, what it takes to be on the offensive line, and how the offensive line needs to be a single unit and work together. And he's had a lot of experience, been coaching for over 30 years, and he was the main draw.
The program that Jerome Sowers has built in Flagstaff and how he's been able to recruit the state of Arizona was also key in Laurita signing with the Lumberjacks in February.
Everybody says that they recruit the state of Arizona. Coach Sowers truly recruits the state of Arizona, and Coach Sowers, as seen in this class and previous classes, he goes after who he perceives are the best for his program in the state of Arizona, and he signs those kids.
I've been impressed with how he gets with his players and treats the players personally, rather than as it's just a factory, but it feels more like a family, and Coach Sowers makes it really feel like a family up there.
Chase's dad has been coaching him since he was 4, and just because he will be at the college level now, it won't stop him from hearing his dad's coaching and critiques in the back of his mind.
I mean, I am thinking about that, and I can hear him from the top of the bleachers, top row. He can hear him yelling, but yeah, he's always there, and he's always a motivating factor, and it's always been real important to have him there throughout my growing up in my career.